Hello, BookTube. I have a little mail for you on this black, sleeting, cold, dark day. A day that very much feels like winter, even though the promised snow has not appeared. I don't know that we're going to get much here. I think it'll appear in the air, but it won't even accumulate on the ground. Instead, it's just a cold, sleety day. Perfect for curling up on a warm couch and reading all day long. I wish I had that option, but this place is so drafty and so chilly that curling up on a couch for warm reading is only possible for limited stretches. It really makes me no offense against the Bean, of course, who I adore, but days like this really make me miss Lucy, my fat little basset hound, because she gave off heat like a stove. Her sister Malin and I used to just we're so grateful for that on raw days like today, where it's not, the temperature outside is not all that cold. It's just a kind of raw, wet cold that gets inside your bones, and Lucy was perfect for that. you could just press her. She was always unconscious. She was always asleep, so you could just press her right to. You could put her wherever you needed her to be, and just sort of hunker around her. Her sister Malin did that anyway. Malin very seldom left Lucy's side, but on days like today, I would hunker near her too. Frida is a wonderful little dog, but she's 10 pounds of pure energy. She doesn't give off any kind of heat. In fact, she doesn't like the cold. She doesn't like chills at all. So we've got some mail here. We've got 3 packages that we'll go through. It's not all the mail that I got, but I'm going to try to ration the mail, set aside a package or 2 every day so that we don't ever have days without mail. I'm going to try that, see if it works for the remainder of the year. But considering that we got a 22-minute video out of 1 package the other day, I'm sure that this will be enough. So let's see what these are. No boxes, just 3 packages. Do you want that, baby? Oh. Oh, come on, Frida, put your back into it. There you go. So let's see here. Okay, this is a finished copy of a December book. If I remember correctly, it's December. Yeah, December 1st. This is a thriller by Robert Brinza. This is 9 Elms. From the British crime writer, Robert Brinza, whose character is Detective Erica Foster. Was launched in a book that became a #1 international bestseller called The Girl in the Ice. I would not have read that book, but that book I wouldn't have read it because I am more sick than I can convey in any of the languages that I know of the fad of the girl in the title of a book. I'm more sick of it than I've been of any fad in the literary world ever in my life. The idea that now, what is it, 5 full years after The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, maybe longer than that, maybe 10 full years after that, the idea that all these years after that book, the publishing industry is still taking manuscripts that come to them with different working titles and changing them to The Girl Who Did, The Girl Who, The Girl What, so, or whatever, and doing 250 of those a year, 250 books that start with The Girl. The idea that that is still happening is so utterly, personally revolting to me that I wouldn't have read this book. But apparently, that The Girl in the Ice earned him a worldwide following. Has sold 3 million copies and been translated into 28 languages. That's amazing. That's impressive. And this new thriller features former detective turned private investigator Kate Marshall, and launches with 9 Elms. Oh, so this is going to be it introduces new characters. I guess it doesn't continue with the characters from The Girl in the Marketing Gimmick. Inspired by complex and psychologically twisted relationships between Clarice Starling and Dr. Hannibal Lecter in Thomas Harris's The Silence of the Lambs, Brinza explores the relationship between a heroine and a charming psychopath who are devastatingly linked. Okay. Kate Marshall is a former police detective and recovering alcoholic who 15 years later is still haunted by the scandal that clouded her victorious capture of the notorious 9 Elms serial killer and ended her career. Now a lecturer at a small coastal English university, she's doing her best to take care of her young son, but given her traumatic past, she must lean on her mother for assistance. And then that existence, that precarious existence of hers, is shattered when a copycat killer starts killing people in the manner of the Nine Elms killer. So this is December 1st. I believe that I have had the advanced copy of this, and I've been concentrating on November so much that I haven't got to it, and I had to do a little housekeeping. As you can see, there's a blank shelf, an empty shelf behind me. I had to do a little rearranging things because I am searching. I am searching restlessly for a wall socket anywhere in Hyde Cottage that will not blow out the fuse box if it's used for more than just looking at it, so that if a spider crawls across it doesn't blow out the fuse box. And it turns out that for 12 years there's been a socket directly behind that big workbook case. And if there's a socket behind there, then it obviously isn't part of the circuit, the same circuit as controls the west side of this room, and it obviously isn't part of the same circuit that controls the east side of this room. It must control that side of the house. So I'm going to try that socket and see if it can support, for instance, an electric space heater. That would be great. It's not all that, like I mentioned, it's not all that cold right now, but it's going to get cold, very cold. But anyway, let's move on. So we have a serial killer thriller, and then we'll move on to this next one. Cardboard, little bean. Let's make sure I don't give you what I need. No, there you go. All right, there you go. Can you make her out? He's destroying this thing. So let's see what this next one is. Oh my. Oh goodness. All right, this is from Princeton University Press. This comes out in late March of 2020. It's by Eric Klein, who's, that sounds awful familiar. His name sounds awful familiar to me. And it's called Digging Up Armageddon, The Search for the Lost City of Solomon. Megiddo, known as Armageddon in the New Testament, is mentioned a dozen times in the Hebrew Bible and a multitude of other ancient texts. But it is most well known as the setting in the New Testament for the penultimate battle between the forces of good and evil. In 1925, James Henry Breasted, famed Egyptologist and a director of the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago, and the author of a still very readable, big one-volume history of ancient Egypt, sent a team of archaeologists to excavate the ancient site of Megiddo. In acclaimed author Eric Klein's new book, he shares a vivid portrait of the internal workings of that dig in the early years of biblical archaeology. Fascinating. Okay, now, who is Eric Klein? Because I know this guy. I may even have reviewed a book of his. He's a professor of classics and anthropology and director of the Capitol Archaeological Institute at George Washington University. His the publicity sheet has a typo and says that his man books include I don't know that his books are man books. Books don't have genders. I think that means many. His many books include 3 Stones Make a Wall. Okay, there you go. I read and really liked 3 Stones Make a Wall. In fact, I think I reviewed it. Okay, there you go. And he lives in Maryland. Okay, so I don't recognize the one other book that's mentioned here is 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed. I don't think I recognize that, but 3 Stones Make a Wall I do recognize. Great. So this comes out in late March. I have an advanced copy here, and I think I know a certain head librarian who was trained in archaeology who will be perfect to review this. Oh, goodness gracious. Hi, Bean. Oh, goodness. What's the matter, baby? What's the matter? And ordinarily, if I had normal hygiene and was a normally nice person, I'm not quite so obnoxious and needy, then the threat that I would make to that head librarian and former archaeologist would be, if you don't review this book, I'll never visit you again. Instead, my threat is, if you don't review this book, I'll visit you more often. Then we have this final one, a big cardboard thing. Should set the bean alight. Oh, Frida, this is as big as you are. Good Lord, little girl. You can see the power cord and the miscellaneous stacks of book on the floor. I swear, as much as I love books, this room does not ordinarily look like this. Right now it's a little bit of a shambles because I'm running a power cord to test whether or not the plug behind that bookcase works. It'll all work itself out. So what have we got here? Oh, okay, great. All right, so this is November. This is the paperback. This is a paperback release of a book that I read and liked. Let's see here. I don't think I reviewed it, though, so I won't be blurbed on it. This is Brian Fagan's book, The Little Ice Age, How Climate Made History, 1300 to 1850. This is a $16 trade paperback, $17, $18 trade paperback that's coming out. It'll be in your bookstores any day now. And this is about the Little Ice Age. The Little Ice Age. And apparently the paperback is revised. That doesn't often happen anymore. It used to be that scholars jumped at the chance to do that, but ordinarily now it doesn't happen. That's great. The Little Ice Age, the most significant climate event of the last millennium, was sandwiched between two warm spells: the medieval warm period, which lasted from 900 to 1300 AD, and the present global warming, which began in about 1850. Yes, okay, all right. Yes, it began at about 1850, and in about 1970, it started going asymptotically off the charts. So, you know, it's one thing to be scientifically punctilious, yes, but it's another thing to give ammunition to science deniers, to fascist science deniers, by implying that this is just a cyclical event and that there's nothing unusual about the warming that's happening now. But the book doesn't do that. Although climatologists suspected the broad outlines of these periods for many years, only within the past decade have they developed an accurate picture of climate conditions in historical times. Great. Fantastic. Well, I read this and really liked it. Who is blurbed, may I ask? The South Florida Sun Sentinel? Does the South Florida Sun Sentinel have active book coverage? Steve has never written for them. If they have active book coverage, why wouldn't I write for them? I'll drop them a line and see. And also Foreign Affairs magazine also did this. But the blurb on the front is from New Scientist. Great, all right, so this is not only a paperback, but it's a revised paperback. Fantastic. And that's right away. That's coming right around the corner. That'll be out around Thanksgiving. So there you go. That is a nice, rationed, abbreviated, rational mail haul. So we have The Little Ice Age, now in a trade paperback, and it's a revised trade paperback, so it's not the exact same thing that you might have passed on at $30 before. Then we have Digging Up Armageddon, a story about the quest to dig up a biblical city, to dig up a biblical location. That I have my eye on a reviewer for this book. I'll give him plenty of advance time. And also a serial killer thriller, a Kate Marshall thriller by Robert Brinza, called 9 Elms, from an author who apparently had a best-selling hit, The Girl in the Ice. So there you go, nice variety. And that is our rainy, sleety day mail haul. But you got some Frida as well, so there's that. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.